They don't feel any better than the old glasses, just like Marley, I couldn't read that when I got new glasses, now I can barely read that.
I know.
You grab me a book as well, my friend.
Alan.
What's his name?
Alan.
Alan? You grab me a book as well, thank you, sir.
Well, I don't know where else.
Anyone else?
Oh, no, I thought this too far out here. It's okay, I wanna make sure it's easily. Thank you. Thank you.
You want to comment?
Yeah, he's doing it.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you? So is this the one I should order?
Absolutely. Thank you, Devin.
I should buy?
You are, you'll probably get that one,
It's all
the
right.
newer
It's not all-
one, because I don't know if this one's still,
Which one's the new
they're the
one?
same basically, but the one underneath it,
Ah, thank
they're
you.
from the same publisher, but.
We should just be reading the
The
Reform
more-
Women's Commentary,
So which one?
the women's commentary.
You can also look at the women's commentary.
What page?
But JPS, so this is part of your, first class induction here. So you're gonna look for the book of Genesis, so the first book, and you're gonna look for chapter 44.
Well,
So Genesis, chapter 44.
Yeah, but it's in a different context, so really. It's not, but it's not.
And we start with verse 18. Okay, for those of you who have a book, we're in Genesis chapter 44. Genesis chapter 44, we start with verse 18. That's the actual beginning of the Parsha, but today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. We're actually we're gonna go a little bit into last week's Parsha, just to set the context, otherwise what will happen is the opening verses of Vayigash is sort of like picking up in the middle of a sentence. Okay, what page, if anyone's found it? Vayigash, chapter 44, verse 18. Anyone know yet? Okay.
What's your favorite commentary?
I like the JPS,
Okay.
the contemporary Torah JPS commentary.
And what was it? What was the,
Genesis chapter 44.
yeah?
We're gonna start with verse 18.
Yeah.
You got it? What page?
86?
Say
Oh, yeah, 86.
286.
This one.
Okay. All right. Hello, my friends online. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone had a lovely few days. It's good to see everybody. I just want us to sort of enter in and center ourselves as we prepare to open up these pages of Torah with Parshat Vayigash. It opens with an interesting word. As we know, many of the Torah portions, they are named for the first or second or third word in the line. This one begins Vayigash, and it's a really interesting word. It means to draw near, to approach, to draw near and approach. One of the things I want us to think about as we study this section and as we also enter into, this is our final Shabbat of 2025. Right, 2026 is on its way.
No, it's 5786.
Okay, so censor, I was about to say this, thank you.
Rabbinical assistant.
Right, yes, sorry.
I don't care for the Gregorian calendar when it comes to.
So the secular new year begins next week, but it's also, I find, and you'll see what I wrote today, I find it to be a beautiful sort of spiritual check-in point. It's 3 months past High Holy Days. We're at like the 3-month period of time post High Holidays. It's a wonderful sort of moment for all of us to sort of stop and pause. It's been 3 months of living into our new year from a spiritual perspective. And as we find ourselves at this another threshold moment, another threshold in our secular lives and our spiritual lives, we're about to enter into yet again another beginning. Beginnings are not only once a year. Beginnings happen throughout our lives.
Yeah, every day.
Every morning, every day, right? We have the opportunity to enter into something new. Hello. A new beginning. So for us, as we think about this word Vayigash, to draw near, we are drawing near. We are drawing near to another threshold of beginnings. We are drawing near for ourselves, we're drawing inward to sort of to check in spiritually. What did we hope for our year 3 months ago? What did we hope for ourselves? What did we hope to engage in, participate in, to start? Where are we? It's just a really lovely Shabbat to ask ourselves, Ayeka, where are you? Where are you today? Where are you on the threshold of this secular year? I'm not gonna ask for answers. I just want you to sit with that. I want you to vayigash, to draw near to yourself, to draw near to the space where you currently find yourself. Not to judge yourself, not to scold yourself, not to be hard on yourself, but rather to just pose the question as you draw near to what you are feeling, to what you are hoping for. Where are you in that spiritual check-in place? And so I'm gonna have you sit with that as we continue and we dive into this story. We are getting to a pivotal moment in the Joseph story, which has lasted for a few chapters already in the book of Genesis, and will take us through the end of the book, which will occur next week. So let's say our blessing, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who commands us to engage in the esek, in the business, in this work of studying Torah. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Maza, why is this not okay? Okay. Okay. All right, friends online, thumbs up if you see everything okay. Amazing, thank you. Okay, so let me set context. All right, here we are. Just where are we in the midst of this story is that, remember, Joseph knows that he is Joseph. Joseph knows that he is the brother of this group in front of him, who he has been engaging with. Remember, Joseph's brothers had to come into Egypt because there's a famine in the land. Remember, we talked about that. There's a famine in the land and they are looking for food. They're looking to feed themselves, to find sustenance. They come into Egypt, this group of brothers, and they find themselves in front of this man who is the second in command of Egypt, and Joseph recognizes them. They do not recognize Joseph. Remember, they met him many, many moons ago, and the last time he saw them, he was in a pit and then sold into slavery. The brothers think he's dead. That's what they told his father, right? So they may think he's dead. They know that he definitely was sold into slavery. They told the father that he was dead, right? They are not expecting to meet Joseph, and they're definitely not expecting to meet Joseph in this position of power, right? Now, what's interesting, what we spoke about a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, was that, remember, Joseph's first initial dream that he had was that he was the planets and they were all bowing down to him, right? In this moment, remember, we talked about the foreshadowing. We've now fast forward to this moment where the brothers are standing lowly before him and in service to him. He is the Lord, they are the servant, right? That's how the language that you're about to read. Joseph is not prepared to let them go yet. All right, they're gonna take this food and they're gonna go back to their father. But Joseph creates a ruse. And remember, he hides this silver cup in the bag of one of the brothers. And he basically accuses them of stealing from him, right? Come to find out, the cup is found in whose bag? Benjamin, the youngest brother, who is the also the favorite alive son of their father Jacob. And the brothers are highly protective of Benjamin, highly protective of him, because their father Jacob, his love for Benjamin and also for his late wife is so strong in Benjamin that they know that if anything is to happen to Benjamin, that he would most likely die. Okay? That's where we find the brothers. The brothers are in the court of Joseph. They still have no idea that Joseph is their brother. And that's where we pick up. We pick up that Joseph has said, we have found the cup, it is in this boy's bag, the boy remains with me. He does not go back home with you. You all can take the food back with you, but he remains mine. And that's where we find ourselves. Everyone's clear? Any questions contextually?
How many Josephs, like, what name was he going by in this moment that they didn't know it was him?
His Egyptian name,
Oh, okay.
okay? Remember, he's not known by Joseph, he's known by his Egyptian
Oh,
name.
so he just dropped Joseph when he became the head of Egypt.
What?
When he became number 2 in Egypt, he dropped Joseph.
Right, remember, the Pharaoh gave him a new name. Remember, he went through that name change.
But he totally dropped Joseph when it happened.
I mean, I would imagine he did.
Yeah.
What is
He's-
his name? What is
It's, I don't have the name in front of me. It's an Egyptian name, okay? His name is Joseph. For our context, but for the way that the Egyptians know him is by his Egyptian name, okay? All right,
I have, it was, you said it was decoded, hidden, something, his name was, new names.
yeah, I mean, I just have to, I'd have to scroll and then I'll make everyone online nauseous.
Okay.
Cause I have to scroll.
Not a comfort.
Yeah, I'll get it for you at the end, but I don't wanna make them nauseous. It's like watching you ever seen the Blair Witch Project? It's like horrific, it's like the camera moves all over the place, like, yeah, can't. All right, I'll get it. All right, okay, so here we go, let's open up, Vayigash. All right, Vayigash, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. Then Judah went up to him, Joseph, and said, please, my lord, let your servant appeal to my lord, and do not be impatient with your servant, you who are the equal of Pharaoh. I want everyone to sort of place themselves, and remember, we're really specific about language here. Think about what Judah is doing and what Judah is saying and the reasons behind it, okay? So first, what is he doing? He's pleading, you who are equal to Pharaoh. Not equal to Pharaoh, he's second to Pharaoh, but what is Judah trying to do here?
Stop up.
Okay, right, yeah, right, like he's trying to find favor in his eyes to make him feel good, to, right? Because he needs something from him. He wants to make sure that his brother is not taken from him. My lord asked his servants, have you a father or another brother? We told my lord, we told you, we have an old father, and there is a child of his old age, the youngest. His full brother is dead, so that he alone is left of his mother, and his father dotes on him. Okay, what is Judah saying? What's happening here?
We don't know you're alive, dude.
Well, we think you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? We have lived under this idea that we shared with our father, that his full brother, Benjamin's brother, who was once known as Joseph, is dead. My father loves him, right? My father dotes on him. Then you said to your servants, bring him down to me that I may set eyes on him. We said to my lord, the boy cannot leave his father. If he were to leave him, his father would die. But you said to your servants, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, do not let me see your faces. Judah is recalling the conversation that Joseph has with these men, right? To say, do you have a younger brother? Because he's looking, he didn't see him before. And they acknowledge that Benjamin is home with his father. He says, you bring him to me, otherwise don't come back here for food, right? When we came back to your servant, my father, we reported my lord's words to him. And later our father said, go back and procure some food for us.
So we told, basically.
And we answered, we cannot go. Only if our youngest brother is with us can we go. For we may not show our faces to the man unless our youngest brother is with us. Your servant, my father, said to us, as you know, my wife bore me 2 sons, but one is gone from me. And I said, alas, he was torn by a beast, and I have not seen him since. Imagine Joseph hearing these words, right? That's what I want everyone to think about.
Yeah.
Imagine Joseph hearing these words, okay? if you take this one from me too, and he meets with disaster, you will send my white head down to Sheol in sorrow. Sheol is what? It's like purgatory, like hell, going down, right? Death, basically. Now, if I come to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, since his own life is so bound up with his, when he sees that the boy is not with us, he'll die, and your servants will send the white head of your servant, our father, down to Sheol in grief. Now your servant has pledged himself for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, I shall stand guilty before my father forever. Therefore, please let your servant remain as a slave to my lord instead of this boy, and let the boy go back with his brothers. What is Judah doing here? Think about from the first moment we met the brothers, to the episode at the pit, to the episode now here in Egypt. What are we experiencing about with these characters?
Judah is offering himself in lieu of Benjamin, that's number one.
Right,
And number two, he's protecting his father, and he was considering when they were putting his brother in the pit.
right,
Yeah.
okay, right? So Judah is an active part of this story, right? Judah is one of the ones who said, we don't want anything bad to happen to Joseph,
Right.
right? So Judah is a very interesting character in this entire narrative. Judah here is being very specific. He is sharing with Joseph about everything that will happen if their youngest brother does not return home. The emotion that Judah is sharing here is he's basically saying that take me instead. Whatever happens to me happens to me. But nothing should happen to this younger boy, because I know it's a death sentence for my father. We've already experienced this once with my father. I cannot bear to see it happen to him again. Okay? What's interesting is that we're also seeing a very strong emotion from Judah that we did not necessarily see before. Judah has evolved too. Spencer?
I think this has gotta hurt Joseph, because
What?
Joseph is hearing them beg for a brother's life after leaving him a pit. He's hearing remorse for what they did to him, but only remorse for the father's outcome, not for what happened to the brother. So this has gotta be infuriating.
Okay. Bobby, then Jack.
I don't think it's infuriating. I think that he's now hearing how they handled the story to his father, because maybe he never contacted his father the whole time this is happening. He never went back to see if his father was okay, or alive or dead, and maybe he thought that his father was okay with what happened with him not coming back. Maybe he didn't know what his father thought of what happened to him. Hearing now that his father was distraught gives him some kind of peace with the whole thing, with his reconciliation with what happened to him.
Okay, very interesting. Jack?
I think also before this entity, Judah is showing his leadership, because Reuben really was the Behor of this family. But if we go back a little bit, Reuben says to the father, if I don't bring them back, you can kill my two sons, taking no responsibility. In fact, separating himself from the problem, leaving it open for Judah to come forth as a true leader of his clan.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. What else? What are some of the other themes that we see here? So we have the perspective of Joseph, okay? Joseph in many ways is sort of hearing, it's like if you're able to hear your eulogy, right? What do others say about you, about your life? Joseph is in some ways being able to, he's given sort of this, I think I feel like a slide, like you put the slides in and goes around, remember like the.
Carousel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the carousel, like you're seeing those images sort of showing up verbally. He's hearing a side of the story that he's not heard before, right? He's experiencing what his family, what happened, what his father felt. He didn't know. He may not have been able, may not have been able to leave Egypt, right? He spent much of his time there imprisoned, right? And then elevated to the place of Pharaoh. We don't know what his comings and goings could have been, we don't know. We don't know if it's anger, if it's grief, we're not sure yet what Joseph's perspective is. We don't know what he's feeling per se, we just know that he is absorbing a lot of information. Okay?
I should probably know this, but I don't, wasn't he aware of what happened to him when he was first put in the pit and then come out of the pit, we're going to sell you over here to
Joseph was, but he didn't know that his brothers put the blood of his garments in blood.
The brothers were active participants. In
Yes.
this, yeah.
Yes. He knew that his brothers betrayed him and sold him into slavery.
Right.
What he didn't know is that he didn't know that his brothers then went back and told the
Right.
father that he was killed,
Well,
right? That he was devoured by a beast. He didn't know that he was sort of this ghost.
right, but either
Right?
way, it was good. When-
No, I mean, it's not a happy time,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, wasn't a
No,
happy
no matter
situation.
what they told the father,
So they told the father that he was, right, they brought this
Yeah.
blood-soaked tunic back, and the father said, my son has been devoured by a beast, right? Joseph doesn't know that part of the story. Joseph's long sold into slavery by that point, right, into Egypt. Now he's sort of hearing all of a sudden, for the first time, he's starting to hear this whole other reality that was created by the brothers that the father has been living under. Okay? All right, let's keep going. All right, let me say instead of the son. For how can I go back to my father unless the boy is with me? Let me not be witness to the woe that would overtake my father. Again, another really, like this, what's interesting here too is that the Torah doesn't often go into this level of detail. All right, this is a very long episode in the full narrative of Joseph, and it's incredibly detailed. A conversation that's not occurring between God and anybody, but between human beings with each other. That doesn't often happen in the text. This, we're getting a full picture of a conversation between two human beings, okay, who don't actually know the fullness of what's happening. Because Judah doesn't know he's talking to Joseph. Joseph does, but Joseph doesn't know all the things that Judah's telling him. So there's this really interesting drama that's occurring and unfolding before our eyes.
out of the loop.
Hmm? They're both out of the loop and in a loop and out of a loop, and like they're like
Their own reality.
they're their own realities. Yeah, it's like it's an amazing thing. Like, think about a time, if I don't, that where you're talking to someone and you're both speaking to one another, you're facing one another, you're speaking to one another, but you're living in two alternate realities. Right? Like, it's a really, like, that's what's happening here in many ways. One, they don't know really who each other are. They're sharing information that one sort of knows, but then the other doesn't know, right? The last time they saw each other, that Joseph saw Judah, was really traumatic, right? And so there's a lot of complexity and a lot of heaviness that's occurring here. And actually, they're not actually speaking to each other. They're sort of speaking like past each other in many ways, okay? So let's see here. Chapter 45, this is when it becomes really emotional here. Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, have everyone withdraw from me, so that there's no one else here, when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. So what does Joseph do? He removes all of his courtiers, all the Egyptians in the midst, so that the only people in the room are Joseph and his brothers. Imagine though the brothers in this moment. What are they feeling?
Oh God.
Right. What's about to happen to us?
'Cause he's
Can you
with-
imagine? He's a very, very powerful, what they know of, a very powerful Egyptian man who has cried out, removed all the witnesses from the space, and it's just him and them,
Was Benjamin part of this group? This one, he was, okay.
right? Because the cup was found in his bag.
I'd be scared.
Right, of course, like you're feeling incredibly fearful. You have no idea what's about to happen. Joseph's sobs are so loud that the Egyptians could hear, and it made its way all the way to Pharaoh's palace. Okay? Joseph says to his brothers, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. Is my father still well? His brothers could not answer him. They were so dumbfounded that they were on this account of what had happened. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Geshuna, from the same root as Vayigash, Geshuna, come forward to me, draw near to me. Remember, Judah, the Parsha begins with Judah drawing near to him. Now Joseph is saying, Geshuna, draw near to me, approach me, come closer to me. And when they came forward, he said, I am your brother Joseph, he whom you sold into Egypt. What now?
I guess they're wondering, are you gonna kill us or are you gonna save us? Cause you know, it might be like, oh, my brother, I'm gonna save him no matter what, or it's like, I can get revenge here, I'm the second most powerful man in the land.
Exactly right? So there's fear of revenge. They have no idea what's about to happen. You can imagine the level of fear that they are experiencing, and also anxiety and total shock. Guilt, regret, guilt, shock, right? You can just, like, the disbelief, right, is enormous. Jack?
By the way, I don't know if this is a midrash, I think it is, but when he sends everybody out except his brothers, he says, see, I am your brother Joseph, showing them he was circumcised. I know it sounds far-fetched, but
I
the
think
comment
there
is
is,
that.
yeah, I think that's one of the commentaries, right? Like that he showed, yeah, I think that's in one of the commentaries. Yeah.
He's one of them.
Yeah, I'm one of you, so that he, as another way of them saying, like, they're not gonna question that, they're gonna know, yeah. Right, it's another like shuna, like draw near, come close so that I can, right? Yeah, thanks, thank you, Jen. Yeah, did you have something? No, okay. So let's see what happens. Now here is, verse 5 is a really, really beautiful line. And this is a line that Rashi and many of our commentaries are gonna focus on. Do not be distressed or reproach yourselves because you sold me. It was to save life that God sent me ahead of you. This is really a remarkable line in Torah. If you think about what Joseph is actually saying to the brothers now, if you could parse this phrase, if you can unpack this phrase, what is he saying?
This was a prophecy.
How so?
God told me that I would one day you bow before me, it's happening. And you sold me to Egypt because God wanted me to save us.
Okay. All right, so one, what's he doing? What is he saying? This was God's will. This is God's plan. This has nothing to do with you. None of what you did is what you did. But,
So he's letting them off the hook.
okay, well, what do you think?
You know, I think it's interesting because it appears as if the cloak of his Egyptianness has now been withdrawn.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's, so I was thinking to myself as you were saying it, is he really an Egyptian or is he Joseph?
beautiful, right? At first, I love the cloak piece, right? Because what's interesting is it's a beautiful metaphor. It's not written here in the text, but one could imagine that he had those robes, whatever that was, right? That he has wearing, that allows him to be seen as I'm gonna mute him. I got it.
Can you talk to this side on?
I can try, yes, I'm just trying to respond there too.
Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying, yes, I'm trying. If you'd like, you can sit there too, that way you can see, I'm just trying to
I mean,
balance both.
There are
but
more people there.
I'm trying, it's an odd room, okay, so most of the time I have to talk this way. The cloak piece, the garb, I find really beautiful because it's an amazing metaphor in other places in Torah that we see, where people assume a certain status while placing robes on themselves. like the priest, like Aaron, he's going to have a beautiful cloak and robe that is placed on him, that he becomes something, right? Esther, actually, when Esther, in the book of Esther, chapter 4, when her status shifts and changes to take on the responsibility of going before the king, it is said that she dons this robe, this like purple robe, that the
Moses was
status
an
shifts.
Egyptian.
So Moses was a Hebrew who was raised as an Egyptian, who then goes back to, bringing on his Hebrew roots. And again, his status shifts and changes. You can imagine he's wearing the cloak of pharaohness and royalty. Then he removes that and puts on the cloak of a shepherd, and he wears the shepherd's cloak, right? He wears those robes as well. So the shifting and the changing of the clothing also shift and change the status of the individual. And so when that status shifts and changes, okay, when it shifts and changes, they themselves, their agency shifts and changes. So here it's very interesting. He says, draw near to me, I'm gonna remove, because I'm letting everybody else in the room go. He didn't have to necessarily do that. They knew who he was. Pharaoh knew that he wasn't born an Egyptian. Pharaoh knew he was a Hebrew. But he removes all those people so that he can have this intimate moment with his brothers. In many ways, he allows them to leave so that he himself can have that one-on-one connection with the people, with the brothers, whom he didn't have that opportunity until now. So he didn't have to let them go. So it's an interesting moment that he does, and then becomes incredibly vulnerable and open. And what he shares here is also quite profound, to say, all that this happened, not because of what you did, although what you did was really bad. Like, right, he's not saying that I didn't have pain and and that these things didn't happen to me, because he said, you did sell me, right? Like, don't be distressed because you did this thing. I know you did it. But the truth is, what's happened to me in my life, why I am here in this moment, is because of God's will. God sent me ahead. God brought me to this place. I am in this moment actually to do good and to save you and to save lives. That this was intentional. It's a really powerful line, and it's an interesting perspective. Could have gone multiple ways. One of the other interesting pieces that we have seen together, because we have, over the course of the few months that we've been learning together every week, we've seen complex sibling relationships, right? We've seen challenging sibling dynamics and family relationships. This is one of many. We've also seen, though, think about who Joseph's father is. Jacob. Jacob has a really challenging relationship with his family, right? He experiences with his brother Esau the whole blessing fiasco, right? And he's separated from his brother. And after a long time of separation, when he comes and reunites with his brother, what do we see as the first thing Esau does? Right. He draws him near, weeps, and he kisses him on the neck. Here, Joseph, when he realizes and he decides this is the moment that I'm going to share who I am, he Geshuna, draw near to me, approach me, come close. I am going to be open and vulnerable and exposed. And he weeps. There's a lot of interesting thematic tropes that we see that occur and reoccur in Torah. And this happens to be another one of those experiences. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that it was not to save your lives or Hebrew lives, but to save life.
Yes.
Because he saved all of Egypt, really.
Well, he saved not just all of Egypt, but the surrounding areas too, right? And he's gonna save eventually, he's gonna bring Jacob and the rest of the family into Egypt. And they're actually gonna experience incredible years of richness and goodness and life. So Joseph here is able to recontextualize the experiences that he's had in his life and says, look, I recognize that I've experienced tremendous pain and difficulty. I've had challenges, I've been in prison. Life has not been great and easy for me. I'm not just here because I made it and I'm in the big leagues now, right? Really, and he's saying, I've experienced it because there was a piece of that so much of this was part of this divine plan. And in addition, I know now and understand that the reason I'm here is for something very specific. That I'm actually here to save a life. It's very interesting also that you bring up the cloak and that we bring up Esther, because that's what Mordecai says to Esther. How do you know that you weren't born for this moment? How do you know that you were not born for the moment to stand up to the king and to save the Jewish people? This is Joseph's moment. Now, obviously, Esther will come much later, but it's similar thematically. It is similar in the sense of a recognition and awareness of coming into recognition and awareness that as an individual, there are moments in our lives where we, if we are blessed to have that sense of awareness and knowing to say, this is the moment that I was born for. This was the moment that I have the ability to, whether it's, it may not be to save people from a famine or to save the Jewish people from an evil decree, but it may just be a moment to help someone who's in need. It may just be a moment to stand up and give voice to the voiceless or give strength to those who are vulnerable. It may be just the ability to say, this is the moment I was born for, to actually be present and to listen to the person who truly needs to have an ear to listen to. Those are those little moments. Those are those little moments that can have a profound and deep impact and life-saving impact on just one individual, much less an entire world. For Joseph, this is that moment of recognition and awareness to say, I now realize that those dreams that I had many moons ago, that it was bringing me to this moment. Maybe in my youth, I thought you all were just to bow down to me because I was the best and the favorite. But what I realized was that it wasn't just that. It was something greater, far more meaningful, far more powerful in the fact that I'd be put in a position to save life, to do good, and to ultimately help restore people to strength and fulfillment.
Joseph also loved his father Jacob very much. And he has the opportunity to save his father's life here, to bring him in from starvation. And I think that also might be like, okay, yes, all this happened to me, but I love my father and I'd do anything to save him.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's interesting that you have to, I don't know if you have to go through hardship to recognize the moments that put you where they put you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was because Joseph went through hardships and was so in the pit, depressed, we're all getting in the pit and we're depressed, that when you come out of it, you can see things differently. And I think if your life goes on, la, 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 you're just not aware of those moments where you were put in a certain place for a certain time. Because I believe that you're put in a certain place for a certain time. But I think you have to have certain kind of, I don't know what the word is, to be aware of the fact that, yes, you're here because of that and not just haphazardly.
Okay.
That there's a basharedness to certain things that happen in your life.
Who else wants to reflect on that? Dina?
I think it's interesting, in modern day, today's day, as a parent.
Yeah.
Living here in this town. Or in general, we want to protect our children. They should have no adversity, they should have no discomfort, they should have no challenge. And yet if we don't allow our children from early on appropriately experience adversity and challenge, they don't build that character. And so here I see that he recognized that he had all these adversities and these horrible things happen to him, and he could have chosen. He could choose to be completely bitter and want to go kill his brothers and like hate them, or he can choose to reflect and say, well, what did all the adversity potentially teach me?
Absolutely.
This was one of the blessings of a
Skin knee.
Skin knee.
Yeah.
I've never read that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. Blessing with skin knee. Yeah. Who else? That's beautiful. Yeah.
Maybe I'll try again. But he believed in God, I'm assuming he believed in the Hebrew God. And here he's been part of being involved with the Egyptian gods, and this Pharaoh is supposed to be a god. But yes, he's talking to his brother, God.
Mhm.
I mean, it shows that even though he's 17 years old, he's been raised with Egyptians,
Not
Egyptian
17
gods,
now.
and he's still in Hebrew. In my eyes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's beautiful that you say it, Marilyn, because the truth is, the blessing that we use to bless our sons is may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim and Manasseh are Joseph's sons. We don't say, may God make you like Jacob and Isaac, or may God make you like whatever, one of Jacob's sons. We say Ephraim and Manasseh. And the reason is the Torah teaches, or our rabbis teach, the sages teach, that the reason why we say Ephraim and Manasseh is because Ephraim and Manasseh grew up in Egypt and maintained their faith and their connection to God. That they never strayed or assimilated or acculturated, that they always remained true to their beliefs and to their faith. They were the children of Joseph. So the way we can understand that too is that Joseph never gave up on his faith and his tradition, his connectedness to his people, to his the belief that he was raised in. And that even living as they did in Egypt, which you can imagine they had a beautiful life, right? And that they were part of fabulous Pharaoh parties and had friends from all walks of life, that their tradition at home, right, is what they believed and they were firm in. And so the rabbis say that the reason why we bless our sons to this day, Ephraim, like maybe like Ephraim and Manasseh, is a comment on the fact that may you be like Ephraim and Manasseh, may you live your days, regardless of where you are in your journey, regardless of what you come into contact with, regardless of what you experience and how you live and all those, may you always remain connected to your tradition, to your faith, and to your God. So you can imagine that Joseph was a model for that for his
It's
children.
interesting because that could also go along with interfaith family.
Yes, of course, which is another beautiful representation of the power and the beauty of an interfaith family. Like, for example, so Joseph marries an Egyptian woman, right? And yet, may you be like Ephraim and Manasseh. They were raised in a home, and they were raised in their traditions, in a home that was committed to those faiths, those values, and those traditions, but also a recognition that both were not of Hebrew descent, right?
So did Menashe date non-Jewish girls? That would happen sometime. Some of us have those issues. Okay,
Or opportunity.
well, I'm not gonna comment any further.
Okay, but it is a beautiful story in how we recognize and value and how we celebrate the traditions that we are connected to, and however those traditions manifest to, meaning there are many homes of multiple faiths, of interfaith families, right, who have different traditions. And yet, when they make that commitment, let's say when they get married, that they're gonna raise Jewish children or have a Jewish home or have a Jewish family. And yet are still committed, and then, there are the traditions of the spouse who is not Jewish, right? And that family they are connected to. It is an important piece to not say, we cut you off from your family and the traditions that you were raised in, right? Like, what kind of a statement would that be to say, well, in order to do that, you have to forget from where you come and the love that has molded you into the person who you are, who clearly our child loves you for you, right? And what you bring. And so that's part of those conversations and those balances, and that's why those conversations are so important and can be so beautiful for how we are not making any assumptions, but rather we are very open about what our home will look like, what our family will look like, what are the values that we share, what are the opportunities for growth, for respect and understanding, so that no one's making assumptions about how anyone feels, right? Like those are those critical, powerful, beautiful conversations that sometimes we are fearful to have in the beginning, but yet are very, very powerful conversations that can bring about a sturdy foundation of understanding, of love, and of respect that can blossom and can bloom in ways that we might never have expected had we just shut them off from the beginning, right? Jack.
I found it interesting that Joseph realizes that Adonai plays a great part in his life when he says to the Pharaoh, the Pharaoh says, interpret my dreams, when Joseph says, I'm not the one interpreting your dreams. It is God that's giving you
Right.
that information. And from there, you realize that he then realizes that he's where he is because of God. And it was
Yeah.
God that plays a major role in his life, but also in Judah's life.
Talk to me about Judah's life.
Judah, with the rest of his brothers, were very jealous of Joseph because of their mother and who they were born to. And they couldn't accept this. At this stage, Judah comes through by saying, I understand now. I'm doing this for my brother Benjamin. I'll forget the fact that we had differences. We're a family, and this is part of my responsibility. And
Yeah.
Joseph and Judah grows at this period of time to become the leader that he becomes of the Jewish people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like the evolution of all these characters is quite profound. It's one of the interesting pieces of the Joseph narrative is that we're able to see them evolve along a life cycle of experiences that we may not see in other stories as clearly and as specifically, because the detail is so specific that we're given. So we can see how Judah evolves over time. We can see how he's willing to put himself in Benjamin's shoes, whereas before he may have spoken up for Joseph, but he wasn't willing to go further than that, right? He's evolved to be able to say, I'm going to go further than that. I'm not going to just say, no, don't take Benjamin. We love him. He says, take me in his place. Like, I cannot bear to have this scenario replay itself and what it would do to my family, right? There's also a really beautiful sort of like full circle moment about the value of family here in this story that we don't always see with the other stories in terms of like the full life cycle of a family of dysfunction, right? The dysfunctional piece, then we travel around the circle and now we're back here and we can say, all right, I now see that we have evolved to a place to say, I see you where I never saw you before. Judah and the brothers never saw Joseph. Joseph never saw the brothers when they were living all together. They mutually coexisted, but they never saw one another, right? They weren't willing to say, Joseph, this dream that you had, I'm really struggling. Like, you want me to bow down to you? Like, I don't get that. That doesn't feel right to me. What are you trying to say to me? And Joseph could have said, you know what? I actually don't really know. I'm just telling you what I saw in my dream, but maybe it's not that you're supposed to bow down. I don't know. I don't know what this means. Don't misunderstand it. I just know that I'm having these strong dreams and I can't make sense of them, right? Had they actually started from a place of curiosity, of understanding, to ask one another the question, to be willing to be open to say, this doesn't make sense. This hurt me. You hurt us, Joseph. We find that, you get this really cool Technicolor dream coat and we have some schleppy road that that's dirty from being shepherds out in the field and you get to hang here with dad during the day. That makes us live it. Like we can't make sense of this. But they never had the opportunity, they never took the time to have that conversation. Not that we see recorded in the Torah, which is also very interesting to me. Meaning in the very beginning, there is no conversation that is of depth and substance between the brothers to understand and to see one another, to value one another, to justify one another's experiences and feelings. And now, as they come back to this moment where they didn't know who they were looking at and who they were speaking to, Judah is very open here. There was something that was blocking them from having that openness with their brother. In this moment, Judah is very willing to share what happened, how he feels, to stand up for his younger brother, to say, I also I cannot cause my father that kind of pain again. Like we saw what happened there. And then Joseph reveals himself. It's another seeing word of being open to show, like, let me reveal to you who I am. Let me share with you. What I realized, guys, is that it wasn't what you did to me, although not great. But this was divinely inspired, meaning there's something more to it. Whether you want to believe in God's plan or, God charts the course for us, that's one piece, that's a theological discussion. But from an emotional perspective, what we're learning here and how we can make meaning in our own lives is how do we actually see one another? How do we give space to another that we care about to say, what are you really, this doesn't make sense to me. I want to understand you better. Reveal yourself to me and let me reveal myself to you. And that's what happens in this moment here. What happens is more than just an understanding of what was. What happens now is an opportunity to chart what will be. And they have that power now to create that experience together, which they may never have had and never took the time to do before. And we saw how that played out, right? And how does that sit with people? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, thank God you came here.
That's what Dina said.
Okay.
That's what Dina said.
Well, thank God, God, it wasn't me, it was God.
It was planned the way you
It
did
was
it.
not planned, that was not planned, that's true, it's not planned. Yeah, it's funny, God sent me ahead of you, there you go. So, Chani Alechem Livnechem, thank you, it's very sweet. It is an amazing and remarkable moment in our first book, the book, and this is towards the end of the first book of our Torah, where we've seen so many chapters and verses dedicated to this family in a way that we oftentimes focus on. This story is playing out and is as rich and detailed as it is because it's got to get us to Egypt. Because if we can't get into Egypt, then the book of what happens with the book of Shemot, we open it and what happens, right? If we don't end up in Egypt, then what happens? This tour is over, right? Like we talked about with Joseph, finding the one man in the field that says your brothers are that way, not that way. It leads him to them, which then he gets to the pit, which leads him to slavery, which leads him to Egypt, which leads him to Potiphar, which leads him to the prison, which leads him to the dream, which leads him to Pharaoh, which leads him to second in command, which leads him now in front of his brothers. Right? Every moment determines the next to then lead us into the place where we get into Egypt, to then a new Pharaoh rose over Egypt who knew not Joseph.
Although I'm
Right.
guessing there were a few pharaohs in between.
Yeah, I mean, they were enslaved, I think, for like 400 years.
Right.
And we were there
but-
for more than 400 years, right? Not just the enslavement, we were there a while.
Yes, and we were enslaved for the 400 years,
But
right?
there were probably quite a few pharaohs between.
Yeah, well, whatever it was, one finally rose who did not know Joseph. And that's the powerful piece.
That's why we need
Right.
history teachers.
Hmm?
That's why we need history teachers.
Yes, history teachers and, so many
Study.
wonderful things about remembrance. Jack and then Bobby, sorry, I saw his hand. I
Okay, with
can't-
an
You know,
aside.
We'll just,
I
we'll
think
yield
one
to
of
the.
one
Say it
of
again?
the major sentences in this book, having to deal with a dysfunctional family, they don't speak to each other. And one of the last sentences here is that after this was over, the brothers spoke to each other.
Mm,
And that kind of sums up this, where communication among families is so important, among anyone is so important.
yeah. Communication is so important. Communication is important. And also, communication, not for just for communication's sake, I think communication is
Yeah.
key. But it's about, I think what's so powerful here with Joseph and his brothers is the seeing piece. They were talking at and past each other, right? And even prior to Egypt, we don't really know much about what they said. It was so superficial, what they said to one another. It wasn't deep, rich, powerful, intentional language. Here it becomes, right? It becomes this idea of not just are we speaking and communicating, but we're seeing and we're open to one another, and we're leading from a place of true curiosity, which is it takes it to another level. It's not just active listening. Active listening is I can repeat that because I can hear what you're saying. But leading from a place of true openness and curiosity is saying, I'm hearing what you're saying, I'm internalizing it, I'm trying to understand you, I'm curious as to what you mean by that. I'm trying to understand what I understand it to, right? Like it takes it to a different, to a deeper level of knowing. So I think that's another piece that we learned from this week's portion, which is it's sort of like an unintentional piece of the Parsha. It's not like what we tend to lead with when we think about Joseph and his brothers. We focus on the big reveal. Like, Joseph and his brothers, right? Reveal, shocker, Joseph's alive, right? Like that's the big like moment of revelation.
Holy guacamole.
Right, like that's what they're saying, right? And he wants to do it in a way that is meaningful because he removes everybody else. He removes all the noise, and it's just them. He's not doing this for a show. He's doing this to say, I'm now ready for you to see me. I'm ready to see you. Never was before. Just as much as Joseph it is the brothers, right? Joseph's now saying, I'm ready now to truly see you. I recognize that the events of my life have led me to this moment for more reasons than one. And I'm willing and ready now to explore that together in a deep, rich, and meaningful way. So we started this class with the word vayigash, right? Which means to draw near. I asked you all to think about, and I'm gonna ask you to think about over this Shabbat as the last Shabbat of 2025. I know, Spencer, it's not the last of the year Jewishly, but the last Shabbat of 2025, right? To think about what are the things that we need and that we are seeking to draw near. Who are we seeking to draw near? What are we seeking to draw near? What are we hoping to draw near from within ourselves? What do we need to approach that we weren't necessarily ready to approach yet? What are we ready to draw near and bring into our orbit that was just sort of on the periphery before, but we are ready now to draw near? And to ask and to wonder and to discover. These are not easy exercises. These are spiritually deep and profound exercises and of practice. Practice means you have to keep doing it. It doesn't mean that you're gonna leave today and be like, I did it. I drew near to it. I leaned in. I'm over. No, I get it. It's not easy. That's the beauty of spiritual work, is that it's asking us to do something deeper, to draw near to the things that we have sort of been arm's distance from, to draw near to the people or to the ideas or to the circumstances that are requiring that of us, that we are feeling, that are sort of bubbling up from within us. And what are the things that we want to draw near to over the course of the next few months, as we think about the things around us that are calling out to us that we haven't been ready yet for, but we know that that we're working at trying to bring them in and to draw near and to approach. So with that, I wish you all a meaningful Shabbat Shalom. If I don't see you before, a happy and healthy new year of 2026. God willing, it will be a new year of new beginnings, of new opportunities, of peace and of blessing and of love, and of drawing near to the things that are calling us to draw near to. Shabbat Shalom.
Amen.
Amen. And I'll see you all later. Services are at 7:30 tonight.
Oh, 7:30.
Yeah.